Imagine you're strolling along a beach and you look out to the vast, endless water, and you know for a fact that there is an island out there. Now, this island is paradise. It's this place where your goals are achieved. You live the life that you want. It just all comes together there, but you got to get there first. There's a lot of unknown between where you're at and where it is. This mainland that you're on, it allows a certain life. This mainland represents the life you currently live. It's not terrible, it's not awful, but it's not exactly what you want. You know there's more out there. You know others have gone to this island. Not all of them left a map, some did, but that map was so unique to them that you can't really follow it. It doesn't work for you. Now, you spent lots of time coming up with the perfect plan, the perfect theoretical map to give yourself some direction, to go out on that water and find that island. You're leaving the mainland for a possibility. It's too risky. You kill your plans. You dream, you stroll again, you know the island's out there, you come up with plans, fail to take action. Does this sound familiar? Well, today's idea is going to help kind of break this cycle, hopefully. The main idea here is that motion is more important than direction. So, welcome to the channel Be Water, where we explain great ideas, but more importantly, explore how to actually adapt them. How do we get to this island? How do we get to that life that we ultimately know is possible and that we want? Stick with me through the whole video. I'm going to explain the key components to a philosophy that is essentially key to adapting almost any good idea for your life. This video is also a little bit different than the normal format I hope to achieve, because this is sort of a let's think about how we think about this. In education circles, we call this metacognition. I'm going to be explaining the overall philosophy of the structure behind my videos. This whole idea should be useful to you, but it'll also inform why the rest of my videos, or most of my videos, follow this structure. Bear in mind, I'm not going to be revealing some sort of cheat sheet or a shortcut or a way to cut corners. Like all things in life, all good things in life, it's gonna take work, adaptation, time and patience, and persistence. But let's figure out the smartest way to go about this. So, motion is more important than direction when trying to find this island, when trying to attain some sort of bigger goal or a life you want. Then I guess we don't really need any plans. We just go out there and make it happen. Not quite. There's a little bit more nuance than that. It is actually pretty important to make goals for yourself, set a target. There's a lot of ideas and philosophies out there on how to make goals for yourself. Those are topics for other videos another time. But the point here is make goals, make targets for yourself. Once you've made some goals, get some motion, get going, go where you think it might be. Perfect direction doesn't matter so much as actually taking the action. This little model you see in front of you is an adaptation from an idea of The Motivation Myth by Haden. Really powerful book, lots of insights from it, more videos and ideas to come from that later. But the big one for now is this self-sustaining cycle that you want to get going for yourself. It's a cycle that's already moving. It's just going, right? And the hope is to get this going in your life in some way. The question really comes down then to is where's the merge ramp? How do we get onto this thing? Most people tend to think, naturally, that the place to break in is motivation. That what I need to merge into this cycle and, off I go is this motivation step. When in actuality, or typically, this is our merge ramp. It's action that is the most important, just getting going, which then hopefully will lead to some kind of perceived success, more on that in a second. And then the result, once you have that success and you feel like you have that success, you feel motivated to continue action and so on and so forth. And then this blows up to a bigger picture of like actual progress and growth, which again, we'll talk about in a second. So the big takeaway here is action's your first step, and the merge ramp to get action is what we're going to address next. We have our three-step process, the self-sustaining cycle going. Action leads to success so long as it's perceived, which then gives you the result of motivation, which can feed more action. We've also figured out that the merge ramp to this is the action step. It's not that you have to conjure up motivation out of thin air. That can work on some occasions, but not always. It's more about the action step. How do I get something going in a sustainable way? We have the daily or the short-term process now firmly established. Then the cool thing is if you zoom out far enough on a big enough time scale and you've created this process in a sustainable, consistent way for yourself enough, that's when you start to see these kinds of results in 6 months, a year, 2 years that introduce completely what was previously thought unattainable change in your life. We're going to be doing a power combo today. So we've been looking at Jeff Haden's motivation myth main idea of this self-sustaining cycle that can get you going on the daily or the weekly or short term. What we're also going to look at is James Clear's book, Atomic Habits. Many great ideas and insights from this book as well. Many more to come on this channel, hopefully. The big idea we're going to pull from that book today is this valley of disappointment. So we've said if we zoom out and we have a self-sustaining cycle going long enough, within a year, 2 years, 6 months, whatever, long term, you start to see some change that like you didn't think possible. That's motivation in and of itself. That's success enough that will like keep you going, that you're like, wow, I've come a really long way. But there is this early stage that you must be aware of. When we go to take on something that we feel should have a certain progress line to it, our brain plays a trick on us. Often, we have certain expectations on the progress we should see, or we feel we should see, and then there is the progress we're actually making. And early on, the difference between those two, this valley of disappointment, can pretty much break you of any new positive habit or thing that you're trying to do. But that's where this little self-sustaining cycle on the daily can help get you through that. You need to engineer perceived success into your life to let yourself know that you're getting progress. And eventually you get past that inflection point and you'll end up in territory you didn't even think was possible. It exceeds your expectations at a certain point. Another important power combo idea coming in from the Atomic Habits book is this idea of the 2-minute rule. What we're doing here is we are taking something that is a really big goal and we are shrinking it down to something that can take roughly 2 minutes every single day and then make sure we do it every day. This is that action step from that little self-sustaining cycle that's so important. Now, why this whole 2-minute thing? It doesn't actually have to take 2 minutes, but the idea is to shrink an idea down small enough that you would feel silly not being able to do it every day. I want to run a marathon, but I know first I need to take action and actually just become a daily runner. I need to make sure that this cycle's going for myself. How do I shrink this down to 2 minutes? What I can do is I can make sure I'm getting my running clothes on, my running shoes on, and I'm walking out the front door. I can do that in roughly 2 to 5 minutes. Telling myself that I do it every day at the same time every day. That's my bare minimum. If I do that, great. I can walk in feeling successful, or at least I'm telling myself I was successful for that day. If I walk out and I'm feeling really great that day, I'll run down the block. I'll run around the block, whatever the case may be. If you create enough of this little action consistently, you do start to hopefully feel some success. Well, I'm getting my gear on every day, I'm waking up every day, and I'm now starting to run a little farther every day. And then at some point, the success becomes pretty self-evident and it starts to really feed on itself. Success, perceived success. I really stress that word perceived. Early on, most things that we take on, we're going to have to engineer and create a perceived success for ourselves. This has to be something we build in. It's what's going to help keep you going on that daily when you're not meeting that progress you wanted or you're not meeting the expectations you set up for yourself. It gets you through that valley of disappointment. Now, down the road, as time goes on, success starts to just make itself evident to you and it will really feed your system and almost supercharges it. I go back to the running example because it's an easy one. At first, if I'm just going to tell myself, hey, I got up at the same time every day and I put my clothes on, that's a perceived success. I have to tell myself that's a success. It might feel kind of small, but I have to tell myself that that's a thing. As time goes on, if I start to actually adopt a running habit, I'm going to start to feel better. I'll probably start to drop weight, especially if I combo it with a good diet. If I'll start to see my times come down. Running has a nice quantified measure to it. How fast is your mile? How fast is your time? But these bigger successes that are more evident to us come later. You got to put something in place for a perceived success early on to get you there. If you can pull off this action step with consistency, accountability, you can create a perceived success for yourself early on that'll get you to a later success that's way more evident. The wonderful process is pretty much done and you get motivated. You get this motivation as a result. And that is probably the biggest key to all of this. The motivation is typically a result. It's not the first step. We're going to be shifting back to light mode now. You will notice a sudden wardrobe change and lighting change. This is because I didn't screw up the rest of my footage. I apologize about the inconsistency, but again, I'm leaning into the imperfection. So motion is more important than direction. Set a direction, but then actually start getting some action. Action is the first part of that self-sustaining cycle that really gets you going and keeps you moving on the daily, which then if you move out far enough, can enact change in your life in the long haul in a way that you never thought possible. Once you get that merge ramp onto action and actually get something going, you have to have perceived success of some kind. Typically early on, you kind of have to make this happen for yourself. The byproduct of all of this is motivation. Take the action, you feel the success, you get motivation, which leads to more action. My videos, my whole philosophy, most of them are going to take this structure. I'm going to bring in some kind of great idea or a couple of great ideas that combo together, do something cool. We're going to talk about what's the low-hanging fruit. What's the simplest way you can start getting action on this thing and maybe some perceived success. We might even talk a little bit about the mid layer, which is just sort of this like, okay, once you have it established, how can you make it a little more complex and amp this up a little bit? The upper layer is, that's really where it's going to come in, you're going to come in. The most complex systems out there are so custom that it really is only good for that one person. And I hope you get to that level with whatever idea you may implement into your life. Just remember, most of the time, the owner of an idea is not the person who lets it theoretically float around in their head. It's the person who takes ownership of it and puts it into action. And that's what I'm looking to do for you on this channel. Most of my videos will follow this structure. What's the simple way to do it? How do you get action? How do you have perceived success? How do you get this cycle going? What are some of the ways you can layer on top of that? And off you go. So today was a little bit of a different video. It's that metacognitive piece. We're thinking about our thinking. I'm making a video that has an idea and a structure about the idea and the structure of my videos. It's a little out there. But I just wanted to explain a little bit of what's the philosophy behind all of this. This channel is just one part, one effort amongst many things. I have a couple different creative outputs that I'm trying to use to get out there and get ideas in front of you and hopefully provide some value. I have a newsletter that I am going to be creating. I'm going to be sending 2 emails a month. That is it. I don't wish to load down your inbox, and I will make them as concise and actionable as possible. It's below in the description. Obviously, we're going to be doing hopefully weekly drops of videos here. I have a website as well where I'll be putting blog versions of these videos and some bonus content as well, different things like that. If you've watched up to this point, thank you very much. If you found value in what I have said or any of the other videos I've produced, please subscribe, help me out. You can sign up for that newsletter. You can also visit the website. And in the meantime, don't forget, just be water, my friends. Be water.